Now it's day 2 of the nationwide strike by the nurses and midwives over conditions of service. Patients are bearing the brunt of industrial action, which began yesterday. Now in the northeast region at the moment, JoyNews' Eliasu Tanko reports a facility serving about 13 communities has been closed, leaving patients helpless. Eliasu joins us from the Wulugu Health Center in the West Mamprushi municipality, where patients who traveled from far villages are stranded. Eliasu, paint the picture at that facility to me.
Well, Daniel, the facility is closed. As I can see, only a motorbike. The main door to the facility is also shut. There's no personnel here. I can only see 3 people who say they are here to seek health care. But unfortunately, all the doors to the facility have been locked. There's nobody here to attend to them. I have one woman here who would like to speak to us. She will tell me where she's from and what she's doing at this facility. That's why.
Nah.
Ka yapoloka yina. Tangdenka yina. Ka bonombo ka kana situmon.
Ndiba no masa.
Yalam pam.
Ndiba no makande piaka.
Kaula kabiyale.
Bakane.
So Daniel, that's a woman who says she's a native of Wulugu, and she's been here. Her son had an accident and got the hand broken, and so she had an appointment 3 days ago to come here today for the hand to be looked at. Unfortunately, she's telling me nobody is at the facility.
Wow. And
there are other people. One man also who is here is coming from another village, and he's here with a pregnant woman. Unfortunately, there's nobody here to take care of them. The whole facility is shut. Behind the facility is the nurses' quarters. There's nobody there currently, and as you can see, I'm trying to. The facility has opened. I've been able to gain access. But very largely an empty facility. There's nobody here. Nothing really is working here currently.
Now, Eliasu, for the 13 communities that the Wulugu Health Center serves, where's the closest healthcare facility that can have a doctor for them to receive treatment?
That is Wale Wale, the municipal hospital. And I spoke to you yesterday, gave you a situation what was happening there. There are currently 3 doctors. Yesterday, when we checked there, the one doctor was only asking patients at the female ward to go and seek health care elsewhere. There was another who was also issuing folders to people to also go and then seek health care elsewhere. There was only one doctor that we saw. He was performing an operation at the emergency facility, and he spoke to us, said that they were under pressure because of this. This situation, and so you can imagine all these people. The only place that they can go is the Wale Wale Government Hospital, and at the moment, patients there are also being turned away.
So I'm trying to get it. If they are being turned away from the Wale Wale Hospital, does that mean that they have to go back home with their illnesses? Exactly.
Yesterday, I met a teenager who said she had an appointment to do a surgery, and she was coming from Wungu, which is some few kilometers from the municipal capital. We asked her what she was going to do after she was turned away, and she told us that she was going back home and to go and speak to the grandfather. Possibly the grandfather will be able to give her some concoctions to treat her ailment.
And there's no nurse who has even showed up at the health center to see what the situation is?
Nothing at all. I can see goats and sheep. Here, nobody. I told you I've been able to gain access to the main hall. There's nobody here, absolutely no activity here. Wow. And like I said, I've also been to, just at the back of the facility is the nurses' quarters. There's nobody there to attend, to even speak to me on this particular situation. And I can say 3 of the patients who I came and met here are all going back home.
Eliasu, thanks for that update. Stay safe out there. Let's come back to Accra. The Greater Accra Regional Hospital has seen doctors who are picking up extra roles to contain the situation. Medical Director at the facility, Dr. Emmanuel Strofenyo, says the measure is unsustainable and wants governments to promptly settle issues with the striking nurses.
As I said earlier on, the kind of situation we have now is not sustainable. So we are only pleading on government to bring their good offices to bear so that this strike is averted, so that it will not lead to any loss of life or loss of maybe increased morbidity. The kind of system we are running cannot be the way to go. It cannot be the routine. It cannot become the routine. It can't really go that far. It cannot be the routine because then the doctors are being stretched. Let me give you one example. We have just about 150 doctors, but we have 700 nurses. And so when those 700 nurses are not there, the doctors cannot run their normal duty and then now come and take over the nursing functions. It is not possible because looking at even the numbers, assuming they could do, but looking at the numbers that have gone away, that is this hospital alone, do you see? So even the figures alone should tell us that the situation cannot be the way to go into the future. So sooner or later, we are only pleading that government will come into some kind of solution with the feeding staff so that they can resume. Nurses are clinicians who are providing service at the front line. And so when you talk about the criticalness of the situation, this situation is more critical than the previous one. And so we are not praying for a similar situation that happened in the past, that this thing will drag on for 2 months. It will really be a huge blow to the health system in this critical moment. Because the doctors are working, the hospital will not close down completely. We will sit down and devise systems that will enable us provide some service to the critically ill patients who need emergency services, like those who are involved in road traffic accident, we'll have to see to them. Those who have severe acute conditions that need immediate intervention, maybe surgical or medical treatment, we will have to take over. We will still have to provide systems to look after these people. But then healthcare will still be limited because we will then have about 700 staffs who are no longer coming to the doorsteps, coming to the front line to provide service. Thank you so much.
Now, still on this issue, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations will meet the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association on Wednesday to continue negotiations for their conditions of service. Since Monday, as you have seen, patients have been left stranded in hospitals across the country as nurses began their strike action over benefits such as rent and transportation allowances. Speaking on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV, Deputy Employment and Labour Relations Minister Bright Rekubrobe said his outfit is consulting the various stakeholders to pave the way for successful negotiations on Wednesday.
Yesterday was a holiday, and this whole thing started on Saturday. We have been in discussions, Sunday, even yesterday, holiday, we were still talking. So today, my minister has called me. We have agreed on certain things. I have also called the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission Chief Executive. We are going to have a meeting. We will have a meeting, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, and then we will write to them possibly and start engaging them from tomorrow. But I am praying that they respect the injunction order and ask their staff to go back to work. They should know that this government has been the most tolerant, and if they will agree with me, there are so many instances where we have had discussions, listened to them, their proposals that they bring. We have, reasoned with them, even had 3 or 4 sessions of meetings with the managers of their health facilities, trying to see the possibility of some of these allowances being paid by the health facility. So it is not as if we are reneging. We are not. The last thing we would want to see is what is probably starting to emerge. So I'm pleading with them to go back to work and come back to the negotiating table for us to continue to have constructive discussions.
Mr. Rekubrobe is, however, accusing the nurses of refusing to respect the law.
Law that enables them to probably go out, pick taxis or sit in their own cars and drive, and the police escorting them and ensuring that there is peace, absolute peace in Ghana. It's the same law that we are guided when it comes to labor issues. So when it comes to these matters and a body doesn't want to respect the laws which in the morning allowed him or her to go out in peace, then we are in trouble. It must not be so.
Is that what you feel the association is doing? They are not respecting the law?
Absolutely.
Which law are they not respecting, Mr. Rekugobe?
They are not respecting it because once the injunction is secured, you know, Labour Commission had to go to High Court and secure the injunction. It's also a process. When they were served the notice on Thursday or so, I mean, just look at the timing. Within 24 hours, Labour Commission had acted with the due process of law and secured an injunction. What is happening is that the service of this injunction notice must not only be done and served on the person, him or herself. These things can be done. There are processes. We even have substituted services. There are many, many ways which we will tell that this person has been served.
So live on JoyNews Desk with me, Daniel Daze. Now, the outgoing chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, has called on Ghanaians to channel their strengths towards the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and not against each other in the build-up to the 2020 general elections. Speaking at the 2020 International Peace Day held in Techiman in the Bono East region, the chair of the Peace Council called on the security services to be transparent in their fight against electoral violence. Correspondent Anas Sabit has more.
Speaking at the 2020 International Peace Day held in Techiman in the Bono East region, Chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Emmanuel Asante, said as Ghana gears into the electioneering season, there must be a collective effort towards fighting the novel COVID-19 pandemic instead of perpetuating electoral violence.
This year is the election. The greatest enemy we are confronting is COVID-19. Your enemy is not your neighbor. Your enemy is not your political opponent. Your enemy is not even somebody in a different religion. The enemy, we have a common enemy that all of us must come together to fight against so that we will be able to maintain peace, decorum, and development of our nation. And that enemy is COVID-19.
He also urged parliamentary and presidential aspirants to be ambassadors of peace and not the catalyst fueling violence.
I spoke to the people who are yearning for our votes in order to go to parliament. Parliamentarians go to parliament to pass laws that will help us develop our nation. So if you're a parliamentarian, you want to go to parliament, and you are the same person who is inciting young people to engage in violent activities, then you do not understand what you're doing. Therefore, parliamentarians should take a cue from this.
Most Reverend Emmanuel Asante again urged the police service to be transparent in their dealings with matters of political violence by constituting a communication bureau that will inform the public on their activities.
The security agencies, the police especially, should be transparent. They're doing a good job, a lot of work. People who have, broken the law have been arrested. But unfortunately, because we don't know anything about it, we keep on saying that they don't do anything to them. So I'm urging the police to institute a communication department, that will go to the public to let the people know exactly what they are doing. That will really fight against impunity.
On his part, Resident Coordinator for the United Nations Development Systems in Ghana, Mr. Charles Abai, attested that Ghana had built up an effective peace architecture and needs to include the youth and women in the promotion of peace ahead of the general elections.
As I said when I spoke, Africans are very proud of Ghana's peaceful electoral process. And recently, the president himself became the chair of ECOWAS. In a region that is affected by conflict, it is important that Ghana continues to show a good example, maintaining a peaceful process, maintaining an inclusive process that involves every Ghanaian. Including the youth is extremely important. They are the future of this country. And so finding ways to ensure that the youth are effectively involved is really important. Finding ways to also ensure that women are involved. Women often receive the brunt of the impact of the pandemic. And so they are also very strong in rebuilding communities and building community resilience. So they must be involved.
Chairman of the Regional Security Council and Member of Parliament for Atibubu Amantin constituency, Mr. Kofi Amwakohene, pledged his support for peace and called on others to do same.
It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it. I, Kofi Amwakohene, the Regional Minister and Chairman of RESEC, stand for peace.
Chairman of the occasion and the paramount chief of the Techiman Traditional Council, Nana Osiaideyo Ekunfi Amiel IV, called for a collective effort in ensuring there is peace before, during and after the December polls.
We all have a role to play. December 7th is fast approaching. We've just learned that it's just about 77 days from now. We all need to pray, to work together as a team, as a nation, with one common destiny to ensure that there is peaceful election before, during, and then after, and then the country exists in one piece, but not in pieces. This is all that we are praying for.
Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Reverend Professor Asante joins us via Zoom with more on this issue of preventing electoral violence. Good morning. Many thanks for joining us, Reverend. You prescribed a better communication plan for the police service. What difference do you think this would make?
I have done that. It's not the first time I'm doing this. And I do that because I believe that the police is doing a lot in terms of prosecuting people who violate the law. But because the public is not aware of it, you often hear that people are doing this with impunity and nobody is doing anything about it. And that's why I'm saying that the police must tell their story. They must let the public know that they are acting, they are working, that they have brought some people, they have prosecuted quite a number of people, rather than simply sitting back and people thinking that nothing is happening, and so encouraging other people to do that. I believe that it will do a lot if the police comes out. I mean, within their own context, within certain measures. I mean, nobody is asking them to parade people and say that we have, prosecuted this or that. But at least they must relate to the public and let the public know that they are working, and that will help curb impunity in the system.
So, if I'm to get you right, the police is working hard, but they are not doing a good job of letting us know what they're doing.
Exactly. I do not think that they've told their story enough. They've not really kept the public informed in terms of their activities. You often hear people saying that the police will simply say, oh, we are investigating. I think it would do us good if the police set up an information bureau that would inform Ghanaians, even if they are investigating, where they are, so the Ghanaians know that something is being done. I'm concerned about impunity because there are a lot of people out there. As we went around talking to young people, some of the things that came out was that, people do things and they get away with it. Is it true? Is this what is happening, really? We need to know, and the police must, tell us.
Right. So, Reverend, one question that has come is exactly what you mentioned, impunity, especially when it's linked to politicians and their influence on the police.
The law is no respecter of persons. Okay? A politician does something, or somebody relates to a particular political party or politician does something. And the newspaper will pick it up. And the police will say that the person is being arrested. We don't hear much about what is going on. And so people get the impression that nothing. Actually, the person is being set free. We say things without proper data. I must tell you that sometimes, I mean, it's just what people are saying. And I'm saying that it will do the police good and it will do the nation good if they let us know where they are at. The right of information for us to know that, listen, this person was arrested because of this and that. He's being prosecuted, or we are investigating. This is where we are. Nobody's going to tell you to give us a lead so that whoever is being investigated will run away, will get a clue and all that. But at least they need to find ways and means of communicating to the public, for the public to know that they are working.
Now, away from the police specifically, and still on the matter of peace, during the limited registration, well, the compilation of the new voter register, I should say, we saw a heightening of violence. And what do you think are the lessons we've learned that we should carry with us into the main election?
You see, we do have, unlike the previous years, now we have at least the vigilante laws. You know, the Act 2019, Act 999, vigilante and related, laws in place. That has lifted the whole thing from misdemeanor to a second-degree felony. An act passed by Parliament. Apart from that, you have a situation where the two major political parties and other stakeholders, you already know because I've been on this TV, we've discussed it before. The General Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council has been on your program and has discussed it. This roadmap and the code of conduct on vigilantism, of what I prefer to call political thuggery, that these political parties have signed. So this year we have strengthened, okay, the laws governing, if you like, political thuggery in our land. Therefore, there is no reason why the police should not crack the whip, and we need to educate people. And in fact, that's what the Peace Council and NCCE are doing. I myself have joined the Peace Council in some places, in some other constituencies, to educate. We clustered them to educate young people, and they are the political representatives and other stakeholders in respect of the law and in respect of the code of conduct and the roadmap. And some of the young people were very grateful because they said that, look, you do this up there. We see you on TV talking about these things, but we don't have we do not understand what the whole thing is about. So I think, we are doing the best that we can in order to put a stop to that. And I like to believe that with this education and with the laws in place, if all other stakeholders, especially the law enforcement agencies, will also crack the whip, and politicians will do what is expected of them. Remember that inciting people to do that is an offense.
Right.
And politicians can even lose, their right, to enter into parliament and all that. We need to emphasize this, and people must know about that.
Reverend Professor Asante, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on your service as the chairman of the National Peace Council.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you very much for the support you gave me whilst I served as the National Peace Council. Now I think I'll be able to participate as a free citizen of this country. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Still looking forward to working with you. Now, in a related development, the Director General in charge of operations of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Kweku Bwedu Pepra, has cautioned police personnel across the country to desist from engaging in partisan political activities in the lead-up to the 2020 general elections. He was speaking after a confidence-building march organized by the police to assure the public of its readiness for the upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections.
And as the Accra Regional Commander rightly said, policeman, you are not supposed to involve yourself in any political activity. You can only do that when you enter the polling booth. There you can exercise your power. Apart from that, you are not supposed to, as he rightly said, indicate that this man is going to win. I support Mr. A, I support Mr. B. We should all know that most of us standing here, we joined the services, we joined the police service before even political party came into being. I believe you agree with me. And whether you support A or you support B, at the end of the month, it is only your salary that you are going to collect. I hope you are getting me. So we shouldn't involve ourselves in anything. When it is time for election, we are just going out there to discharge our duty. At the end of it, as to who comes to power, it's none of our business. I hope you are getting me. We support the government of the day. So if tomorrow is Mr. B, we will give the needed support. That is all that we are out there to do.
Meanwhile, some Ghanaians shared their views on whether or not they think the police is prepared for the 2020 general elections.
According to my view, I think they are well prepared, and the way they're going, they're coming, it seems that they've prepared themselves. If they have not prepared themselves, they will not be coming for people to see that, yeah, they are real preparing. And I say they are working more harder to protect we the people for not conflicts coming and other problems that will come here. I think they are there to save and to protect and to make sure the election will go through well.
They are not prepared at all. We are suffering. What they are doing, they should stop.
Well, it depends. If they stand neutral, everything will go on fine.
We don't know that maybe they are preparing or not. But we just came here to come and see what they are.
Now, on the flip side, though, the Accra Regional Commander of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Afo Boache Iyadom, is cautioning police officials to desist or reduce sexual activities as they prepare for the elections. Take a listen to this.
And control yourselves. We all need energy to work during the elections. I therefore advise all of you to eat well. Reduce your sexual rounds. For you to get energy to work well before, during, and after 2020 elections.
Well, if you're a police officer, you know what to do. Still on elections, though, former President John Dramani Mahama has ended his 4-day campaign tour of the Bono East region. The NDC flag bearer addressed Nananom and party faithfuls in all the 11 constituencies of the newly created region, and he assured them of his commitment to improve various sectors of the economy with much emphasis on agriculture. Here's a wrap from correspondent Anna Sabit.
First, the former President John Dramani Mahama began his tour of the newly created region with a courtesy call on the Omahini of the Amantin Traditional Council, where he promised to upgrade the Amantin Health Center into a polyclinic when voted into office.
I said 2016, Abraham and Yampini, Sunday, I'm here to talk about Amantin. I'm a car, more health center myself. Say, Yamia Madon, not the Bayer Mampinia, Vipija Health Center, no, have a polyclinic.
He then proceeded to KJG in the Sini East district, where he addressed a deba of chiefs and party faithfuls. Here, the Omahini of the Nkomi traditional area, Nana Osuri Sunkwa Kurunku II, called on the former president to, amongst others, construct a hospital for the predominantly farming community.
Your Excellency, we thank you for the numerous cheap compounds and other health facilities provided by your previous government. Looking at the population, location and size of the district, we shall be grateful if a hospital and more cheap compound can be put for the district when you come.
On day 2, Mr. Mahama visited the president of the Bon Ahafu Regional House of Chiefs and Omahini of the Yeji Traditional Council, Pimampim Yao Kabrese V. The traditional ruler advised the NDC leader and other political parties to desist from delving into chieftaincy issues in order to safeguard the dignity of the traditional institution.
Senior constitutional Eddie Barrier Ato Nananum Any Muse Maubia and yet active politician. Sarah Enna constitutional chair said Emma politicians and so and fire home and ye and his Nane Yetimi Ehu Sir politics Eddie Eura and his it moves said I have some politicians.
On his part, Mr. Mahama assured the traditional ruler of his party's commitment to that request and called on the chief to caution the MPP, who, according to him, are masterminding violence during elections. Then the team paid a courtesy call on the chiefs and people of Kokoma, Abiase, Zabrama, and Apesika communities. Mr. Mahama then commissioned a high-quality cassava factory established by the NDC Member of Parliament for Kintampo North, Honorable Percy Etobonde. Here, the former president accused the Nanado-led government of bringing hardships to local farmers as the prices of foodstuff is on a record low. On the third day, the first point of call was a meeting with the Concerned Assembly Members Association of Ghana, CAMAG, where he reaffirmed his decision to pay assembly members a monthly allowance when voted into power. In turn also, Mr. Mahama at a mini deba accused the NPP of copying policies captured in the NDC's People's Manifesto.
Yeah, I told you, copy. Yenya ma abemu a yede manifesto no beye djuma no yede manifesto no tu dwa o kada asem no na yempo ya dwen ho e ya de anka epese ye monkoso na monkope na monye.
He then paid a courtesy call on the Omahini of the Techiman Traditional Council, Nana Osiadie Ekunfu Amiao. There were many rallies held in Chobodom, Arua, Krobo, Jama, Nsuta, and Techiman, where Mr. Mahama reiterated his commitment to legalize the Okada trade. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit.
Now, away from elections, a 13-year-old girl deformed at birth at Barigo in the northeast region is at risk of being killed by ritual killers who claim to suspect her to be a spiritual child. Now, the child, Fauzia Seidu, was born with a condition in which her right leg continues to develop as she grows. Doctors have also explained the condition as a split foot malformation, usually resulting from gene mutations. The girl, however, has been deemed as a spiritual child possessed by evil spirits. Now confined and unable to receive treatment, she faces the constant threat of being harmed by those who wanted to kill her at birth. JoyNews correspondent Ilyasu Tanko traveled to meet with her family, who are turning down the demand by the community witch doctors for her to be murdered.
The killing of so-called spirit children was a common practice in northern Ghana, where children born with some form of acute deformity or disability were condemned as being possessed by evil spirits. These children were mostly killed by being fed with poisonous concoctions or sometimes buried alive by village elders, otherwise known as soothsayers or witch doctors. The practice was shaped by poverty and ignorance in remote and often marginalized communities in the north. It was said to have originated as a way of poor families to deal with deformed or disabled children that they could not take care of. The practice died down in 2013 following an undercover expose by renowned investigative journalist Anas Aremiao Anas, who tracked down and exposed some of those responsible for the atrocity. However, the practice appears to still exist, as the family of this 13-year-old girl said there was an offer to kill her because she was born with a rare leg deformity. The grandfather of the girl, Issa Seidu, said he rejected the offer. We asked him about ritual killings in the area and why he refused to allow her granddaughter to be taken through the practice as traditions demanded. He explains.
She was born in this condition, which made some people to call her a spiritual child. We were even advised to eliminate her, but I refused and said she must leave. And she has lived till now with the leg also developing as she grows.
Why did he refuse?
I rejected the advice because of fear the parents might not be able to reproduce again, or the same child could have been reborn, as I witnessed in the past, where a deformed was reborn 3 times to the same parents after it was murdered spiritually.
Now he wants assistance from the public to treat the medical condition of the girl.
I am ready to give my fullest support and pleading for help to treat her.
Those involved in this practice perceive it as solution to any problem a family might be having at the time of a child's birth. The child is usually blamed for such sicknesses in the family. However, in the case of this young girl, plastic surgeons, according to health experts, are usually able to improve the quality of life and functionality of the limb through a series of corrective procedures. The orthopedic surgeons are also sometimes involved in order to achieve certain desired outcomes. But due to poverty, the girl is unable to receive treatment and has been confined away from the public eye. Her uneducated parents, who are both peasant farmers, are appealing for help to seek treatment to save the girl's life.
As a first-time mother, I wasn't expecting my child to be like this, so I fainted due to that. I fainted for several moments, and it took all seriously to bring me back to consciousness. And we are praying for help to treat her leg. We have nothing, and pleading with those with something to help us. As a mother, anytime I see her in this condition, I cry a lot, but always look up to God.
So tum wala biyo kan sula na wunne nuwa ya fatin bahayina usun fatin bahati biya nya alafia de mon bi shima manyo ba yinyum nunguna bukanya astum nuwa nya asum o mama.
We continue to pray every day for helper to save her life. Looking at her condition as her father, I am always unhappy at her condition. Her mother also is always troubled. We don't have the financial muscle to treat her. We are begging for help for her treatment and for us to also have peace in our lives as parents.
Eliasu Tanko reporting for Joy News.
That's a very, very heart-wrenching story there. It's time for business, and Daryl Cow is standing by.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The Ghana Revenue Authority has begun the operations of its Quality Assurance Unit aimed at checking activities of internal revenue officers and its auditors on the field. The move is part of measures put in place by the authority to manage complaints of leakages in revenue between taxpayers and internal collectors. Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Amishadai Usu Amwa, disclosed that the unit will also improve transparency amongst revenue collectors.
Our website, and you'll find that quality assurance number there that we are going to put, and we'll be publicizing that number a lot. So when you are calling, you are not calling your local office, you are not calling your local auditor, you are calling an auditor who is sitting at the head office at the quality assurance unit, and then you complain. So when you complain to that auditor who have to do the investigation. So you don't even need to tell the auditor who is working with you that I'm complaining about you. If you're not happy, you just call that auditor, the Quality Assurance Audit Unit, and they will come in and do the independent audit. Today, when you are complaining to the same person, or you are complaining to the direct boss of the same person, and that doesn't give you the assurance and then the comfort that you even, some people actually even fear that if you complain to his boss, they will even intimidate you further. And that's why we have come out with this particular unit that will ensure that people get independent assessments from their normal auditors.
And in other news, the Oil Palm Development Association of Ghana has expressed excitement about the interests of Malaysia and other giant oil palm countries in Ghana's oil palm sector. The 44 palm oil actors from across the country have been deliberating on how to take advantage of the situation to make critical gains in the sector. Richard Kujinyako has more.
The training was organized to equip executives of the Oil Palm Value Chain Association with tools and strategies to influence policy. At the dialogue session, the 44 oil palm actors, who are farmers, processors, and service providers, deliberated on the issues affecting the oil palm sector. Country representative of Solidaridad, Susan Yemidi, indicated there was a need to ensure value chain stakeholders have the capacity to engage policymakers on sector challenges, as well as the potential solutions that will create an enabling environment for the businesses to thrive.
We are looking at issues of sustainability, issues of climate change, issues of livelihoods, incomes. We are also looking at policy directions that would enable the sector to thrive. For instance, Malaysia has a plan to to come into Africa. Malaysia is producing more, and they want to look at Ghana. They have targeted Ghana. So we want to see there's a huge gap. We are a net importer. So they want to talk about how they can be supported to be able to produce more, to actually produce more with less, and to be able to mill more, and to be able to meet domestic demand, and to be able to also support the West African market.
The oil palm value chain also covers smallholder and outgrower farmers, nucleus estate plantations, millers, refiners, manufacturers of soap and other consumer goods. President of the association, Samuel Avala, says over the years, the association has been engaging policymakers and the government on critical issues that affect the oil palm sector in Ghana. He says the association is excited already by the interest of Malaysia in Ghana's oil palm.
Ghana is a net importer of palm oil, so it means that we have room to produce as much as possible so that we can meet local demand. Now, we are not alone in this deficit in production. In the whole of Africa, and in fact, a Reuters account a report by Reuters in June said that Malaysia's palm oil exports to Africa, or sub-Saharan Africa to be specific, has been averaging 6 million metric tons per annum over the last 10 years. But in 2020, they project that it is going to go to 9 million metric tons. That is another 3 million metric tons more. And they mention Ghana, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Sudan as some of the countries where their market is developing. And what they are talking about in that conference, the title is West Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa, the next frontier for Malaysian palm oil. So you see, they've seen the opportunity, they've seen the gap, and they are coming.
The Oil Palm Development Association of Ghana has also been campaigning for the exemption of imported palm oil and vegetable oils from the government 50% reduction in the benchmark values against which duties paid by the importers at Ghana's port are calculated, instituted in April 2019. The workshop was organized under the second phase of Solidarida's Sustainable West Africa Palm Oil Program, jointly funded by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Accra and Swiss government through its State Secretariat for Economic Affairs. So far, over 10,000 oil palm farmers have been trained in best management practices under the SWAP 2. Richard Kwejinya-Akon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
And that's it for business. Sports is up next.